दर्द तो मुझे बहुत शुरू से हो रहा था. Like if some of my earliest memories are of feeling tremendous outrage, not only at caste oppression but at poverty as a whole, and really feeling. I guess it's fair to say I was obsessed with the question of why there is poverty and inequality. Why is there so much oppression, sexual violence, all of that? And I didn't have the answers then, obviously. Oh, it was incredibly important, in fact indispensable. Had we not had the Dalit Bahujan activists, workers themselves on the front lines, and not only that, but bringing their actual stories, real life stories.
जय भीम। आप देख सकते हैं क्षमा सावंत हैं हमारे साथ और सिएटल में हैं हम। यहाँ पे अम्बेडकर जयंती का प्रोग्राम है। मैं भी आया था, क्षमा भी आई थी। क्षमा, जब से सिएटल में बिल पास हुआ, सारे भारत के अम्बेडकरवादी क्षमा सावंत को जानने लगे हैं। ऑनर टू बी हियर विद यू। तब से अब तक क्या चेंज आया है सिएटल में?
पहले तो माफ़ कीजिएगा, मेरा अंग्रेज़ी में बात करूँगी। तो पहले तो ये हुआ है कि the effect of the message of this victory has absolutely been electrifying across the world. And in fact, I knew it would be, but I didn't know quite how much. In fact, I've been stunned to see how much of an impact it has had. And it's understandable why, because with this bill that we were able to win in Seattle, we have made Seattle the first ever jurisdiction of any level across globally, across the world, outside South Asia. This is the first time that we have won a ban on caste discrimination anywhere outside South Asia. So absolutely a historic victory, and a victory that needs to be replicated elsewhere. And so one of the most important things that is coming out of this is the fact that now we are helping to build a movement in British Columbia. This is one of the provinces in Canada which is very close to the city of Seattle, and their activists and socialists have taken up this fight. There are Ravidasya activists and socialist alternative, members of my organization who are there. So we're together fighting to bring, to urge that the British Columbia government pass a similar ban on caste discrimination.
When you thought first time that you should fight for caste discrimination?
The interesting story behind how we were able to win this actually goes back 3 years ago when through my office, my Socialist Council office in the City Council, I'm one socialist, there are 8 Democrats. Yes. So it's everything that we win is a real fight. And 3 years ago, the South Asian community, many of the activists who were part of this fight for the caste discrimination bill were also part of this, where we fought for and won a resolution condemning Narendra Modi and the Bharatiya Janata Party's anti-Muslim, anti-oppressed caste, anti-poor NRC, CAA citizenship laws. And just winning, the process of winning that resolution, I think really, first of all, really empowered a lot of the activists, but it also showed them what a fight it will be, because we not only overcame the opposition of the Modi right wing, Modi supporting right wing, but also the reluctance of the Democratic Party who don't want to take any fight against the Modi regime. The Democratic Party and the Biden administration don't want that. So we had to overcome all of that, and the way we did that was building overwhelming unity among working people across religion and caste, and at the same time, having a fighting movement. What I mean by that is not relying on moral persuasion, like please ye kijiye aap. No, instead we said that if you don't do this, you politicians, if you don't vote yes on this, you don't get to call yourself progressive. So exposing them, putting a spotlight on them and forcing them to vote yes.
आपने खुद कहा आप अकेले थी, है ना? कितना मुश्किल था सबको समझाना, और इस पूरे प्रोसेस में जो अम्बेडकरी सोसाइटी के लोगों ने जिस तरीके से फाइट किया आपके साथ मिलके, वो कितना इम्पोर्टेंट था? उससे आपको कितनी ताकत मिली?
Oh, it was incredibly important. In fact, indispensable. Had we not had the Dalit Bahujan activists, workers themselves on the front lines, and not only that, but bringing their actual stories, real life stories of the instances of discrimination that they have faced and continue to face in the tech workforce, in other sectors, in the case of housing. Those hundreds of people who came and spoke courageously, that was very important for us to be able to push back against the lies of the Hindu right wing, and also the Democratic Party, as I said, which really did not want to vote yes on this, but they were forced to because they were faced with an onslaught of hundreds of people speaking together, and Dalit and Bahujan people themselves coming out in the forefront and saying, we want this because this is the situation we face.
We are talking. You just delivered your speech here. आप मोदी गवर्नमेंट पे बहुत ज़्यादा हमले कर रही हैं, डीएमके पे हमले कर रही थी.
हमले तो वो हम पे कर रहे हैं. हमले
आप यूएस में हैं, वो कैसे कर रहे हैं?
हम लेकिन लोगों पर कर रहे हैं ना. हमले मोदी रिजीम कर रहे हैं लोगों, मतलब मजदूरों पर, दलितों पर, मुसलमानों पर.
इंडिया में?
हाँ, इंडिया में. But this is international. These are international issues, and so it's really important for us to recognize that unless we have working class solidarity internationally, we cannot win. If we want to, for example, if we want to fight against caste discrimination and oppression in the US, we cannot do that without the solidarity of working people in India who are also opposed to caste discrimination. And likewise, we are not going to be able to fight against the Modi regime and Islamophobia in India unless we have international solidarity with the fight there against the right wing, against the BJP agenda, the Hindutva agenda. And in fact, the Hindutva agenda, this is very important for your viewers to hear. ये हिंदुत्व agenda सिर्फ इंडिया में नहीं है, सिर्फ भारत में नहीं, यहाँ पर भी है, यहीं पर सियाटल में है, कैलिफोर्निया में है, कनाडा में है. So ये जो लोग प्रोटेस्ट करने के आए थे ना, the people who are opposing, हमारे बिल के जो विरोधी थे, वो कौन थे आपको लगता है? They were American living, American residing supporters of the Modi agenda. So if you look at the organizations like the Hindu American Foundation or the Coalition of Hindus of North America, तो कहने के लिए ये US के organizations हैं, लेकिन उनका political agenda क्या है? वो तो मोदी से मिलता जुलता है, So that's why it's not a coincidence that they were out here in opposition against this bill. They were also the people who were in opposition against our resolution 3 years ago, which was condemning the CA-NRC resolution. So it is extremely important for us to build this international solidarity.
Okay, Chama Samant is not belongs from marginalized community. Okay, इतना दर्द कब आया आपको कि नहीं ये गलत हो रहा है, लड़ना चाहिए?
दर्द तो मुझे बहुत शुरू से हो रहा था. Like some of my earliest memories are of feeling tremendous outrage, not only at caste oppression, but at poverty as a whole, and really feeling, I guess it's fair to say I was obsessed with the question of why there is poverty and inequality. Why is there so much oppression, sexual violence, all of that? And I didn't have the answers then, obviously, but I really felt it was not only a pain and anger at injustice, it was also an intellectual question for me. How is it possible that this is the best that humanity can achieve? Surely we should be capable of building a society that does not cause such misery and violence and oppression, and that the search for answers for that question led me to Marxism and Socialism, and it just so happened that I found it in Seattle, so far away from India, but it should be international.
Yeah, as I said कि समाज सावंत is not belongs from marginalized section. हिंदू विंग की आप बात करें, कोई हिंदू विंग से आया कि तुम्हें क्या मतलब है, तुम क्यों लड़ रही हो, रहने दो, ऐसा हुआ?
तो हमेशा होता रहता है, शुरू से ही होता रहता है. इनफैक्ट बचपन में भी if I asked questions about poverty, सब लोग कहते थे अपने करियर पे ध्यान दो, it's a sign of arrogance if you think that you can solve these larger questions. But these are just deflections, sometimes from genuine people who don't have the answers, and so they feel like the best they can do is just focus on their lives, and that's totally understandable. But the society as a whole under capitalism, the ruling class wants ordinary people, जो शोषित लोग हैं ना, the ruling class wants you to think you can't do anything, just accept your reality. It's arrogant for you to think you can think anything. So that message is sent to everybody, whether you're a Bahujan or a Brahmin. If you want to fight against injustice, that's the message you get. You have to fight against that message and reject it. You have to say, no, that's not true. And that's the beauty, actually. I'm so glad you asked this question, because that's the beauty of building movements that create solidarity, because that's when you know you're not alone. कितने बहुजन थे जो जिन्होंने सिटी काउंसिल में पब्लिकली बोला था, व्हाट दे सेड वाज, मुझे लग रहा था कि मैं अकेला हूँ, लेकिन मैं अकेला नहीं हूँ, मेरे साथ इतने लोग हैं, एंड आई हैव सो मेनी पीपल विथ मी अक्रॉस कास्ट, अक्रॉस रिलीजन, सब साथ में खड़े थे, ब्राह्मण, हिंदू, दलित लोग, मुसलमान, क्रिश्चियन, लेबर यूनियन, यूनियन मेंबर, सब साथ में खड़े थे और डेमोक्रेट्स को कह रहे थे कि अगर आप इस बिल पे यस वोट नहीं करेंगे तो आपको खुद को प्रोग्रेसिव कहने का हक ही नहीं है।
मतलब लड़ाई इसकी थी, इस लड़ाई में तमाम लोग साथ थे, तमाम कास्ट और कम्युनिटी के लोग साथ थे आपके, है ना, ये इम्पोर्टेंट।
हाँ, ये जो हमने एकजुट किया सबको, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट बात है, इसके सिवा तो हम जीत ही नहीं सकते थे।
हाँ, कैलिफोर्निया में जो हो रहा है, कैलिफोर्निया का इशू बस अभी तुरंत का है, पहले सिएटल से शुरू हुआ, टोरंटो, कैलिफोर्निया, फिर बर्नबी में चीज़ें हुई, तो इस पूरा जो मूवमेंट एक चल पड़ा है कास्ट के अगेंस्ट में, इसकी कितनी ज़रूरत है अमेरिका के भीतर कि अब इसके खिलाफ पूरे नेशन में एक बिल आ जाना चाहिए?
पूरे नेशन में तो आ जाना चाहिए, कांग्रेस में बिल आना चाहिए, बट दैट्स द थिंग वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड, कांग्रेस हैज़ spectacularly betrayed, both Democrats and Republicans have spectacularly betrayed working people, many times. In fact, there was a recent betrayal by the Democrats and even the so-called progressives, where they voted on a strike-breaking bill against railroad workers, who are some of the most exploited workers. So we cannot hold our breath that the politicians will make this happen. Seattle में भी क्यों हम जीते, क्योंकि हमने मेरा जो ऑफिस है, Seattle City Council ऑफिस है, ये पूरी अलग तरह से काम करता है. We don't believe that I should have private conversations with other politicians, make some backroom deals, and then betray working people. That's not how I operate. As a socialist and socialist alternative, my organization, we have a completely different approach to politics. We use our office to build big movements, and that is the kind of movement we are going to need if we are to win in Congress especially. And also, I think this we have to also remember that ये जातिगत शोषण के खिलाफ है, लेकिन it's not just that. It is beyond that. If whatever victory we can win against any type of oppression actually provides an impetus to movements against other types of oppression, like sexism and racism.
Last two questions. इस पूरी लड़ाई में जो बेटियां हैं, लड़कियां हैं, वो ज़्यादा सामने दिख रही हैं, जो भी तस्वीरें आ रही हैं यहाँ से लेकर सियाटल तक, इसकी क्या वजह है?
इस बात पे मेरी बहुत अलग राय है आपसे, so if you don't mind.
मैंने कोई राय नहीं बनाई, I just asked a question.
Yes, but you're constructing it as if it's women who are leading it. It just so happens that yes, there are women, but the truth is that it's what matters is not identity. What matters is politics, and it's important to see this. You can see this in the difference in the strategy and tactics and the political analysis. We were able to win this massive historic victory, like straight up legal ban against caste discrimination. ये जीतना कोई आसान काम नहीं है, but the reason we won it is not because मैं महिला हूँ, ऐसे कुछ नहीं है, बात नहीं है. It is because I'm a socialist. That has much more to do, and the fighting approach that we use, being for our movement, not just me, but the activists who fought alongside me, for them to be clear that the Democratic Party is not on our side. We have to fight to win. That clarity is extremely important, and it's really important to contrast this with Toronto, because in Toronto, see, again, this is not a question of the identity of the person. In Toronto, we could have won a really big victory, but we didn't, because there was no movement building there. The person who brought it forward has not used their office as a vehicle for social movements, and that is extremely important, especially if you want to win in Congress, if you want to win a federal bill. You can better believe it, this is going to need a mass movement.
Last one. What is your political or social goal?
Sorry?
What is your political or social goal?
Goal? Well, as a socialist, I don't believe that the deep problems of our society can be solved on the basis of capitalism. As Malcolm X said, you can't have capitalism without racism, by which he meant that a system like capitalism, which exists, the goal of the capitalist system is to maximize the wealth for a few people at the top, and this is true in every country. There are billionaires in India and the United States. It's not just about the US. The goal of this system is to maximize the wealth for a few people at the top at the expense of billions of people. So there's exploitation on a mass scale, and that is not going to change on the basis of capitalism. And the same thing about oppression. The reason there is caste oppression and continues to be there, the reason there is racism directed against people of color in the United States, there is sexism in every country in the world, the reason these divisions exist is because that helps the ruling class divide and conquer those who are exploited. And we have to rise above that. And the way we rise above that and build solidarity is by doing two things: fighting against oppression and also fighting against economic exploitation together. In fact, that's why it's important that we call out the shameful policy from the DMK, which calls itself an anti-caste party, but now they have passed this policy of extending the 8-hour day to a 12-hour day. That is simply not in the interests of the Dalit community. It is not in the interests of the working class. It is a serious attack on the working class. And it's very important to remember that Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar actually fought for the 8-hour workday and the 40-hour work week. This is not Ambedkarite. This is an anti-Ambedkarite move by the DMK. And so, all of this shows that these things will keep happening under capitalism. And so, as a socialist, I believe in fighting the utmost to win reforms under capitalism, like this ban on caste discrimination that we want. But in order to end oppression as a whole, it can't be done on the basis of capitalism. So we have to fight for a society that is genuinely equal and democratic. And in my view, that's a socialist society.
थैंक यू सो मच क्षमा, और भारत के सभी अम्बेडकरवादियों की तरफ से मैं आपका धन्यवाद करता हूँ इस लड़ाई के लिए। थैंक यू सो मच।
Thank you so much.